Bom dia, amigos e amigas. Espero que suas manhãs estejam indo bem. Good morning, everyone. I hope your morning rather is going well. This is the American Brazilian, and I wanted to briefly talk about a few things. I had to put my shades on. The sun in Florida is just kind of like beaming all the time. Reminds me of Brazil. Anyway, first of all, before I get into what I'm going to get into, which is going to be a really brief post, I'll attempt to make it that way. I wanted to give a shout out to brother Eric Spencer, the admin at the Black Man's Option, a group that I've been a part of since 2017. If you are on Facebook, and even if you are on Instagram, but definitely Facebook, and you are curious about going to Brazil or even other countries, and you want to know the ins and the outs, a cheat sheet, if you will, to speak with certain people, to, get information firsthand, you can get it here. You can also get it at the Black Man's Option, or BMO, on Facebook. But if I were you, I'd put in Black Man's Option, and it'll take you right there. So again, shout out to brother Eric Spencer and everybody over there at the Black Man's Option. It's an awesome group. If you are interested, again, you should check it out. I think you'll like it. Anyway, what I wanted to get into really quick was the mass shooting, another mass shooting here in America. And I kind of want to pose a question, and that's this. Is it me, or does it appear as if America is quickly, the first world status that we hold, it appears as though it's diminishing, right? We talk about crime and poverty and inflation and homelessness and hunger and et cetera in other countries, but it's almost as though, and there's a term, preaching to the choir, meaning that you're talking to yourself. I think it appears as though these issues are growing here in this country. So yesterday, and of course I don't have all of the facts, based on what I saw on television. If those in fact are the facts, then these are those, or these are them. So apparently somebody who was dressed up in a transit worker uniform entered a train, threw a smoke bomb, created some form of diversion, and then began to just randomly shoot unsuspecting people. I think it was, at last count I heard, which was yesterday, 10 people had been shot, 2 of which were in critical condition, and a total of 6 or 7 additional people were wounded in the melee attempting to escape, which surprisingly it's not more than that. And it just kind of, I don't know, it makes you want to be more cognitive, not from a standpoint of being paranoid or being in fear, because we all have to exist here in this world and be outside, as they say. However, I think being cognitive, what does that mean? It's kind of brain function talk. It's what is it? Memory, attention, attaining memory, something like that. Anyway, I said myself, I'll cut this part of the video out, but I'm kind of rambling and trying to pinch it on driving. But anyway, so being cognitive, in short, is basically just being aware of what's going on. Being alert, keeping your head on a swivel, as they say. Oh yeah, cognitive has to do with memory. It has to do with all things brain function. And so, when the old folks used to tell us to use your brain, that's kind of what they were saying. So it's just crazy. I think I put something on a last post, an article that it's an interview that I had read from an American, I think maybe a British journalist, that went to the favelas in Rio. I think it was Cidade de Deus or Roxinha, it was one of them, and asked one of the residents there, is a young lady, how does she feel about the danger where she is, and she had basically said that if there are shootouts or things of that nature, it's typically between either the criminals and the police, or criminals and the criminals. So it's not that unsuspected random people are just kind of like accosted on a whim. I mean, obviously, if you go into that area and you don't know anybody and you just got your camera all out, I mean, you have to move smart. But of course, we've always talked about that ad nauseam. However, when the interviewer asked her about would she consider relocating to America, she was like, no. And he asked her, well, why not? That's the land of opportunity. She said, yeah, it's also the land of mass shootings. And I don't want to be in the mall or be somewhere in the general public and some person with some mental issue just starts randomly shooting unsuspected people. And it made me think. I was like, wow. So the same way over here it's reported that other places in the world are very dangerous and we're apprehensive about traveling there, other places, they look at our news as well, and they too are apprehensive about coming over here. So not everybody is trying to make that trip, and it's interesting. Another thing too is when you go to these other countries, you really don't lack anything. It's with information sharing acts and stuff like that. They may not necessarily be the first one to get the information or the technology rather. But they have the technology, so it's kind of a situation. Do you care if you're the first person with the car, or do you care if you have a car? You know what I'm saying? It's one of those situations. So, yeah, I just want to kind of let everybody know something that my uncle told me. He said, whenever you enter a situation or enter a building or enter a place, and if you notice things change, the vibe changes in any way, he said that's your key to leave. Now, sometimes we don't get that opportunity. However, when you pay attention to your surroundings, and I'm not saying that people knew what was going on, sure they did. However, everybody should be able to, I think we have to be responsible enough to pay attention to what's going on around us, because you just never know. So, yeah, that's that. Also, quickly on the Cam Newton thing, man, it was kind of funny to hear him say what he said. And a lot of people don't realize a lot of his comments they stem from the relationship of his mom and his dad. They've been married upwards of almost 40 years. His mom and dad, I think both are pastors in Atlanta. So the traditional upbringing that he had still lingers with him today. And I know that a lot of people will say, well, you got children by different women. If you were so traditional, he wasn't really talking about himself in a sense of his failures. He was saying what he desires, what he expects, what he's looking for. And it's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's almost like if you see, okay, everybody has roles. I don't care whether you agree with me or not. There are traditional roles. People like to move the goalposts, but there are traditional roles. What do I mean? It is expected that women know how to cook. It is also expected that men know how to provide. There's nothing wrong with that. If you marry a man and you think he's a provider and then you realize that he is not, then you're going to be upset. Why? Because you felt like it was a bait and switch, and that's understandable. So imagine going on a street corner and there's somebody who's experiencing a medical emergency. Let's just say they swallowed something and you don't know how to do the Heimlich maneuver. But there's this person that has scrubs on, a stethoscope, the hat, the whole doctor get up. And you say, quick, hey, doctor, we need some help. And he said, I'm not a doctor. You're gonna feel some type of way. You're gonna feel some type of way. Why? Because he looks the part, he has the persona, but he's not who he portrays himself to be. And so I think in this society, you have a lot of people that say, well, okay, I want a man to do this, I want a man to do that, I want a man to do this. And when you ask what they bring to the table, they say themselves. That's not enough. It's not enough. You have to bring something to the table. That's fair. Fair exchange is no robbery. If I can provide and I can do my part, then you can do your part. That's the contract. Okay, that's the fair exchange, and there's nothing wrong with that. The boss bee mentality, people who usually talk like that, they are either alone or nobody wants them. Or if they're with somebody and they have the boss bee mentality, usually it's some simp who allows the woman to do anything that she wants to do And because she is who she is, whoever she might be, he feels like, okay, you know what? Just to have somebody, I will put up with it. It's almost like that Gladys Knight song. I rather be in his world than be without him in mine. You know what I'm saying? Some dudes have that mentality when it comes to women. It's just ludicrous. And of course, I am not saying that, you know, as a man, you should not do your job. You should absolutely do your job. You shouldn't be a 50-50 brother out here trying to. Now, if that's your thing, that's your thing. But what I'm saying is, I'm talking about if you have standards, which you should, and if you say, look, I want a woman to do this, I want a woman to do this, I want to do that, then you also have to definitely make sure that you holding your end of the bargain. Again, fair exchange is not robbery. That's just cool. That's par for the course. So yeah, I don't disagree with anything the brother said. I really don't. I think that from his perspective, again, how he was raised, what he saw within his mom and his dad, what he still sees in his mom and his dad, I don't think it's anything wrong with that. And that boss B mentality is more of a how can you say it, American problem, a Western problem. In other places, and a lot of other places, they don't really have that. So yeah, usually the boss bees, again, they're usually by themselves. Check out their ring finger. That'll tell the whole story. In any event, I will stop my ramble here and head on and open up and do what I need to do. And so I'm wishing you guys an ótimo dia, an awesome day, and até breve. I'll talk to you later. This is your man Larry, the American Muslim.